What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle content. Today's video, we got a Master Premier team with Chef Skeledirge in the kitchen cooking up wins. In one day with this team, I went up nearly 200 ELO, starting from here at 2671, getting into the 2800s. This team was absolutely wicked cracked, and I had to share it with y'all. So let's get into these battles here. We got Skeledirge on the lead with Incinerate, and that thing just chunks, and it core breaks so many teams. Except this one, they have a Snorlax on the lead. Now, we're going to go straight into the Gyarados. And what I want to explain is, obviously, we're using this to draw out something that doesn't want to see Skeledirge. Gyarados is the safe swap in bad and some neutral leads. It really depends. If you get a neutral lead, or if they get a good lead and they don't swap out, at some point you need to get into Gyarados to check for things like Magnezone in the back. So the important thing with Gyarados here, and I don't have it as best buddy, but I should. If you're going to best buddy anything on this team, make it the Gyarados. And the reason why, in the interaction with Snorlax and Gyarados in this league, Gyarados actually, it gets a bulk point lost against Shadow and best buddied normal Snorlax. If you best buddy your Gyarados, that bulk point is restored. So basically that bulk point being their licks do one additional damage to your Gyarados, and if you have the best buddy Gyarados, they only do the one less. So it's usually better if you're going to have anything in this meta, or in this team best buddy, to make sure it's the Gyarados. My opponent makes a nice swap out of the Florges here, back into the Snorlax. It's just still fairly safe. And I don't know what's in the back here, but I am playing as though, they are obviously, they're not building up to, there's the Gyarados. They are basically playing as though they don't bother building up to the Outrage or anything like that. So I know they don't have it, but there are definitely Snorlax in this meta that have Outrage, and I have been hit with a Skull Bash as well. But Primarina on this team, like I literally said, here's the structure of this team. We do Skeledirge on the lead. Skeledirge loses to Gyarados, Dragons, and I guess just water types in general. So Primarina, specifically targeting the Gyarados, completely hard walls it, charm down, throw a nice charge move at something afterwards, and Gyarados handles, handles a good chunk of the Dragons, as well as other waters. So good first game there, and it was a lot closer than I expected it. And I forgot to cut out the Q times like a bozo. So here we go. It's all right. I don't have to, the Q times aren't too bad. But Skeledirge really core breaks so many teams, it's quite ridiculous. And we're going to start seeing those, like right now, Magnezone on the lead here. Very nice lead for us. And the opponent swaps into the Gyarados, and this is where I just bring the Primarina in. If the opponent, and there's so many safe swap Gyarados that if you have a Primarina, slap her in the team. You could use a Florges or a Togekiss if you like instead. But I definitely feel like Primarina is the ideal thing to have, just because at least you still also resist the water type damage from the Gyarados as well. So we get to fully charm down the Gyarados. Typically, I don't need to shield them unless, they get an extra move in. But I'm able to get this Hydro Pump off after fully charming down the Gyarados. Now, the real answer here is, does the opponent bother to shield this? Yeah, they do. Shoot! But we still get a shield advantage for free. My opponent's going to get that shield back with this next move here, as they are going to go up to 5 Volt Switches. So this is a Mirror Shot plus Wild Charge. And they make a cheeky little bait with the Mirror Shot and then throw immediately, and my attack gets dropped. Like, all the worst case scenario things are happening right now in this battle. At least I shielded up a Wild Charge, and then my opponent comes in with Florges. Now, my attack was dropped, but that doesn't mean that I can't win this matchup, because Florges only has... unless they're running Psychic, all their energy and damage is resisted. So I'm doing pretty okay for myself here in this battle. I got the final shield off the opponent. I was going to go for a catch, but they threw much earlier than I would have been able to catch, so that's fine. Like I said, the Moonblast is resisted, doesn't do that much damage. The opponent does get to another move as well. So this isn't a Moonblast, so I'm pretty certain. This is just Disarming Voice, which is fine. I'm going to bank that energy and come with my Gyarados. One Aqua Tail will knock out here. And I can also put, I can save enough energy afterwards to try and get to an Aqua Tail against the Gyarados, or against the Gyarados, against the Magnezone, before it's able to farm down. But regardless here, we should be able to cook here. The opponent does swap in their Magnezone, trying to either get in a quick farm or something, but I'm able to take it out. That's a good game. I cut the Q times out of that one. See? I get her once in a while. Okay, really difficult lead here, I'm not gonna lie. Avalugg is really, really frustrating. And if the opponent throws with good timing, which this trainer did not, This actually is much worse for Skeledirge. I'm going to no-shield the first one, thinking maybe they try to go for a bait, but they don't. They're going to go up to... They literally... This trainer is quite literally going to be able to demolish me if I'm not able to get through this Avalugg. So they are at now... they're right now at the move, right? So this is where I get to find out if they throw in good timing. My opponent does not. They just throw timing out the window. They are just... no timing at all. And that's really unfortunate because they literally give me a whole Incinerate for free here and miss their chance on possibly getting to another move. Now, my opponent now comes in with the Golisopod, and they have a Magnezone in the back. And this is why it's important to make sure that we are able to check for the Magnezone in the back. This is not looking good for me by any means. My opponent's saving his shield here, trying to get this farm down. They're going to have to shield one of these two Aqua Tails. But now at this point, they're low enough where an Incinerate might knock out if they throw the Wild Charge right away. And I'm also low enough that there's a solid chance they just throw Mirror Shot. But the game denies me Incinerate, got that one turn lag. Thankfully, they go for the Wild Charge, but they're not... they get to another move here, but it's just the Mirror Shot. And Skeledirge hangs on. That definitely took out the rest of the Magnezone there. Now the opponent comes in with their Golisopod, and I have my Primarina here. And even though they have some energy from before, the charm damage from Primarina and the fact that their charge moves really aren't going to do that much, Liquidation being resisted, and if they have Aerial Ace, it's not going to do too much. They're just trying to go for a debuff here, and they finally get it. But because of the pacing, we're going to be able to get to the Disarming Voice here just before the opponents get into their 5th Shadow Claw. Good game to this opponent. Better timing probably would have won them the game. So off we go into the next game, and that's why I really like... I'm always harping about timing. Anyway, this whole team was meant to hunt Annihilate. And so we see it, finally. In this game, the opponent doesn't even bother building up to the Shadow Ball. I don't need to shield this. It's just a Night Slash or an Ice Punch. It's a Night Slash, that's all fine and dandy. Now we're going to go for the Disarming Voices, and I can shield the next move. My opponent basically is going to have to shield twice here if they want to survive. Now, I'm going to go immediately into my Gyarados, and I catch the energy as well, which is really nice here. Again, we need to check in the back for a Magnezone, and there's the Magnezone. So, like Gyarados really does a very nice job here, even though it's taking double super effective damage from these Volt Switches. It's keeping this off of Primarina, and Skeledirge usually has 2 shields to do what it needs to do by this point. As long as the game doesn't deny me, which thankfully it didn't, we can go ahead and get this move off. Now, my opponent goes for a Mirror Shot once again, but they're just throwing right away. If you throw, you're literally like, here's the thing, okay, and I want to pause this for a second because I need to explain this point. The opponent has literally given up 2 full Volt Switches of energy for nothing. The reason why I'm saying this, okay? Incinerate is a 5-turn move, and Volt Switch is a 4-turn move. They are not going to be missing out on anything by not going for these moves, because if they go for 1 Volt Switch and then throw their charge move, they're still going to get that charge move in, but now they can go for an additional, amount of fast move damage, which helps them, and they also get the energy. So they could have gone, instead of baiting, they could have gone for just straight Wild Charge if they wanted to. But now we leave Skeledirge with the energy it needs to fire off back-to-back. Charge moves just about. Disarming Voice, gonna take it. I wish I had just thrown a Shadow Ball, to be completely honest. The opponent not gonna shield this. They're gonna have a Togekiss in the back. And because we're using a Fire type in Skeledirge, this is gonna be fine. We're gonna throw on 4 Incinerates, because that is the proper timing here against a 3-turn move as you get to the 20th turn, as they get to the 21st with their move. So, once they get the shield gone, at this point, Primarina can just come in. I don't think there's any charge move except from Dazzling Gleam in the entirety of the moveset of Togekiss, and the opponent just goes for Ancient Power. We're going to be able to get to the Disarming Voice here and knock out this Togekiss and take this game here. So, yeah, I just, the timing is such a thing that I harp on because it really is just missed damage and energy for free. Like, there's literally no risk. So, going to the next battle here. Skeledirge into Haxorus. The Haxorus is back from the dead. I haven't seen a Haxorus. The game denies me the ability to swap out right away. They have a Magnezone in the back, so I'm glad I checked. What this allows me to do here, and that's the beauty of Skeledirge in almost every format that I've ever played it in, is even if you hit a bad lead, you can almost always farm down something in the back with the Incinerate damage and just smack energy into whatever was in the lead that was a problem. Now, my opponent here goes for a Mirror Shot to try and get a little bit of chip damage. And in my opinion, if you're playing this the Magnezone in this matchup, just go for it. Just go for the full farm down. You're gonna do better off getting shields off my Skeledirge at this point. Now, I will shield the Skeledirge because this is going to hit me a lot harder than a Night Slash would from the Haxorus. Now, opponent throwing 2 counters and then going for their move. Good timing here for them on their part. That is going to do a decent amount of damage, but I'm never going to shield the first Night Slash because if they boost and I don't shield that one, then I'm SOL, man. We're going to go straight into the Primarina. My opponent has an Ursaluna, and now this is getting kind of awkward. I can get to a Disarming Voice here, but the opponent now is probably at a Thunder Punch, and most Ursalunas are going to be running Thunder Punch for Gyarados, so that's a pretty safe bet. So now my opponent is going to be able to farm me down here with these tackles, and while Tackle has the same energy generation as Lick, Water Gun, things like that, I do have to be very cautious of a high horsepower coming from this. If I can get Skeledirge to come out of this matchup, I have to call this as a Thunder Punch. If they got high horsepower, I lose no matter what, and it's a Thunder Punch, which is huge. Their fast moves are all now double resisted. I just get up to the back-to-back Disarming Voices, and I'm going to be able to take this game. I don't think my opponent is at back-to-back Night Slashes or anywhere close. So, after they throw this Night Slash, I'm just going straight for Disarming Voice here. The big call was whether or not they were at the high horsepower. Because if they are, and I shield that, I lose anyway, because then I know shield the Night Slash from the Haxorus. So, it ends up being, regardless, that I still needed to save the shield for the Haxorus. So, good game to the opponent there. Very close. Getting into the next battle, we got Golden Go on the lead. This is a very nice lead for Skeledirge, and the opponent is going to swap immediately into their own Haxorus here, and I'm going to come in with my Gyarados as I have Dragon Breath. This makes it a very good matchup for the Gyarados. I've played a lot of the Haxorus side of this matchup. If you've been a fan of the channel for a long while now, you may recall that I used to play a line with Haxorus back in the old Master Premier days. And what I would do here is I would be, Waterfall's an amazing, matchup for the Haxorus, but Dragon Breath, not so great. So opponent is going to shield this up to get their final move off. I will shield back because I want to get switch advantage here, because now I definitely cannot put Primarina against this. Dragon Breath also not going to do very well into the Golden Go, and I foolishly go for the Aqua Tail because I feel like I wasn't going to get to the crunch when I would have. So I really wish I had gone for that crunch, but unfortunately couldn't. Opponent now is going to go immediately into Annihilate. They're playing an ABA Ghost line, which is going to be something that my Primarina is going to love this Annihilate. And again, I literally went into this with the intention of just sniping every Annihilate off the face of the planet. I just need to save the shield for Skeledirge, and the opponent's like, yep, you know what, that's not happening. So good game to them. And we get a Florges on the lead in the next game. This team cooked so many good leads. Chef Skeledirge was just out here. Now, normally I would say I should probably come in with my Gyarados here, but I figure, you know what? Let's just come in with Primarina because we get to fast move all the way down, and as long as I don't stay in too long with Skeledirge in the beginning, I can tank both of these moves here, and just barely we get there. Now, it's going to come down to whether or not I'm going to be able to get this Disarming Voice off. I think I have enough energy for it. I'm just going to pop it off immediately against the Florges. I don't want to risk getting farmed down and losing that move. So we're going to be able to hit them for a little bit of chip damage. It's all good. And because that matchup was all fast move, I can come in immediately with my Skeledirge and start farming because the opponent's switch clock was not up. And they stay in way too long here, and I'm able to fire off the Shadow Ball. I'm not sure if they're weak in the back, but the opponent just lets it go. And then they have a Golisopod, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't just come right in with the Golisopod because their timer was up shortly before mine. And, yeah, I don't know. That was just kind of a strange one to me. But we have a Gyarados. The opponent knows it's over. They concede the game, and that's a good game to them. So we're getting into the next battle. Another Florges lead. The Flower Pot is up here, and we are just enjoying this so much. Now, Dragonite comes in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of extra energy right before they would be able to throw a Dragon Claw at me. And now I'm just going to come with Primarina, farm all the way down. Normally, I would think maybe I should come in with Gyarados here. But the truth is that Primarina is just going to absolutely just smack this Dragonite. And the charms and energy that I'm going to get from this matchup are going to be impactful against this Florges. So it's just going to allow me to continue to put pressure on it. And I'm honestly going to expect that this Florges is probably the best answer they have to my Dragon Breath Gyarados. So I'm just going to keep charming away. Opponent making a very, very good time throw here right before I would get to another move. but unfortunately, Primarina's already taken out 2/3 of their team, and in comes an Excadrill. So, really happy now that I sent in Primarina against the Dragonite, and I can just 2-shield here and just farm this thing all the way down. There's nothing the opponent can really do here, so we're just going to go ahead and just go for Incinerate after Incinerate until this Excadrill is off my screen, because one Drill Run would end my face, and I don't have the ability to farm it down with Gyarados or anything, so we're just going to go for fast moves here. The opponent's got 2 shields. I mean, I could throw all these moves if I want to, but they're still going to get a move off. And we don't even need to shield the Moonblast because it doesn't do enough to knock out. Skeledirge roasting people today. Good game. Got his little chef hat on. He's in the kitchen. Underneath his chef hat is a little Primarina and like a Ratatouille pulling on his... a little... I don't know. Anyway, when we see a Gyarados lead, those are a little bit tricky. If it's Dragon Breath Gyarados lead, they love to stay in and try to throw their moves. But even if they stay in, right, that means it's staying away from Skeledirge, which is always a good thing. So if now this person comes in with their Florges right off the bat, this is perfect because just like that first game, it would set us up with an opportunity to farm down with Skeledirge if they don't swap out like they did in that first game. So we're going to see what the opponent wants to do here, but they are going to have to throw a move before I get to the next Aqua Tail. Otherwise, they would have to commit a shield or darn close to it. So they do decide to throw the Disarming Voice. All too happy to let this go and come in with Skeledirge and try to start farming down. Now, it's up to the opponent. Now, once again, the opponent swapping in a Snorlax. They have a Snorlax as well, but I also know that they have a Gyarados that was in the lead. So I'm just going to go ahead and commit to this matchup with my Skeledirge. Opponent, once again, throwing way too soon for a potential Outrage or Earthquake, so I know they're just going to throw Body Slam here. I'm going to save my shields for Primarina. Primarina will be able to 2-shield Charm down the rest of this team, no problem, especially because if Gyarados is their only other healthy Pokemon, we're going to be fine there. So, opponent's still staying here, going to commit their shield to their Snorlax. The opponent commits their other shield. I'm very happy to just swap in now my Primarina, as they have nothing they can safely swap in here. I'm going to let this go. One Body Slam, not going to do as much as a potential Moonblast from the Florges, so I'm going to wait and try and save at least one shield for that. But I do have to shield a second move here, as they do get to another Body Slam before they go down. Now, they're going to let me Charm down here. And then the Florges is the only thing here that is threatening to me. And I'm going to shield up a move from it because kind of have to, right? They go straight full send the Moonblast. I respect them sending that Moonblast because they would have actually gotten to 2 moves here. If they had baited, they would have got to the Moonblast. I definitely would have lost this game here. But Disarming Voice not going to be enough. I'm going to be able to get Gyarados with a Disarming Voice here. And that's actually going to do a fair amount of chip damage, but it's not going to be enough, unfortunately, because Skeledirge is so low. We concede the game here. Good game to them. I had to get to a Shadow Ball, and I wasn't. But now we have another Core Breaker in the lead here as the opponent swaps in a Metagross into my Skeledirge, and I'm just like, alrighty then. As long as I keep Gyarados away from the Chestnut, and Primarina can handle it fine if I keep its shields. So, here I try to swap in my Gyarados. My opponent has 2 moves banked almost by this point, so I have to be careful. I know I can live 1, no problem. I may have to shield back, though. Yeah, I'm going to have to shield a second time, or just let the Gyarados go down. So actually, I'm happy here to let the Gyarados go. My opponent is gonna not... I tried to go for the move there, but the game wouldn't give it to me. My opponent doesn't want your Chestnut to see me, but they're gonna have to send in their third here. And once again, just like we saw earlier, with 2 shields, I can farm down this whole Excadrill. And I'm, once again, very, very happy not to have to deal with this with my Primarina. Opponent's gonna go for charge moves here. I'm gonna shield them all, and I am just going to continue to just lay in to this Excadrill with my Skeledirge's Incinerates. My opponent now swaps in the Chestnut, banking a move for later, which was actually very smart of them, because Excadrill wins CMP and they know it. So they're just going to try to get my final shield so they can drill run the Skeledirge later. As long as I don't give them that shield, I'm fine. I have 100 energy. Now what I can do with this shield that I still have is I can shoot the Shadow Ball off into the Excadrill as soon as it comes in, because they would need 2 moves in order to have a chance to KO. And that's going to do it here. We're going to take out this Excadrill with the Shadow Ball, and that's a good game. We're getting into the next battle here. We got Skeledirge on the lead versus a Magnezone. Another amazing lead for Skeledirge, and I saw nothing but amazing leads for Skeledirge. Opponent safe swaps in to the Gyarados, and here comes Primarina just charming away. Charming away. Now, you all know me, and I hate Charmers. I hate using Charm. But there's also, like, there's a tactical way to use Charm, and there's a toxic way to use Charm. I don't like being toxic with Charm. However, I feel like in a meta where Gyarados is like one of the #1 most used things, along with Annihilate, I feel like Primarina kind of falls under the, it falls under the tactical use of Charm, in my opinion. So here in this, now my defense was lowered, so I'm like, I'm not living a Volt Switch from Shadow Magnezone. We're gonna get the Hydro Pump off, and that's gonna do a ton of damage. And the opponent just has an Annihilate in the back, and this game is as good as one here. I can easily go for a shield or two if I want to with my Skeledirge, and then pop in with Gyarados to finish this off. Skeledirge can stay absolutely healthy, and we're gonna, yeah, the opponent is unfortunately just not gonna have a chance here. I don't even need to shield anything here. My opponent looking to bait me with a Night Slash. Maybe they're looking for that Hail Mary boost. And we're gonna, I don't even know if they, I think there might be enough for a Shadow Ball here, but I'm like, I'm just saving the shields for Skeledirge. My Gyarados is just basically a meat shield at this point, and they just keep going for Night Slashes. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not shielding this. You're not going to be able to just farm down my Gyarados with this, with the counters either. I'm going to build up to a couple of Aqua Tails and then some. I want to be able to try to get to another Aqua Tail before the opponent could get a move off with their Magnezone. But the opponent actually shields the Annihilate instead, which now just means Skeledirge can come in at this point with its second shield. We get a 2-shield flex and knock out the opponent here. That's going to be a good game. Again, what was the record? I think it was like 19-6 with this team, or 18-7, was it? Yeah, it was literally a 19-6 run with this team. 4 4-1s and a 3-2, just shot up with a ton of points in this meta. Skeledirge just absolutely amazing, destroying so many teams with Primarina and Gyarados as the two backups, being able to beat those dragon types and the other Gyaradoses. So hopefully, if you guys have the resources, you could try this team. If not, totally understandable. Master Premier is definitely more of a niche cup with roster. A lot of people don't really, you know, have this stuff built, but if you do, this team was absolutely fantastic. Let me know in the comments what you've been playing this week so far in the Master Premier Cup, or if you're even playing Great League, that's also fine as well. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.